The story begins in the heart of the century, at a time when the world was a forest and an endless struggle. In the century, there was a terrible battle. Bloody, swirling in the middle of a forest, a mighty warrior. He screams from so much pain, and before he falls, he reached out his hand, and grabbed a closed helmet that looks suspicious. And he put it on as if he is getting ready to go back to strike with the sword and fight again. And then we discover that all this terrifying scene is just a nightmare. You see a woman named Anne, and she was a nun in the church. All the people who were present in the church were women only, and the reason was that all the men were absent fighting in the civil war that left nothing behind nor what came after. The mass ended, and the music calmed down behind Moran, who is Anne's mother-in-law. She began the friend of a pregnant woman, she was. She stood and sat, touching her belly and calling out to her. She spoke kind words from her heart to her. But, unfortunately, that kindness had another purpose behind it. Completely, he hid them. All of this was just a trick and a trap. To steal the ring on the poor woman's hand. While they were on their way back, she remained. She thought, and her conscience pondered over it, and she asked herself, I wonder, does this woman feel that her hoax has been lost? Flexible, she looked at her coldly and told her that this woman has a lot of jewelry, but we don't have anything at all. And at the moment they were crossing the forest, Anne heard a strange sound behind her and turned her head. Quickly, she saw Fairs riding a horse and moving slowly from afar, and she kept turning away from him, unable to take her eyes off him. It was as if he had enchanted her. He passed by, she called out, she yelled at her to wake up, and they continued on their way home. When they arrived, Allah started planting some seeds in the ground so they could find a bite to eat. And we notice here something strange happened to Anne while she was working on the field. She noticed that she was bleeding, so she washed it quickly and hid it so that no one would see it, and after that, he cooked dinner, and it was just a little bit of soup, very light because the food they had was little, and it's over. Focus on what comes next, so he can show you. The extent of humiliation they reached was that her mother-in-law's teeth were not intact, and she would get very tired in the kitchen, so Anne would chew the food in her mouth for her. Then she takes it out and puts it on the plate so that she can swallow it and eat, and after what passed of the meal, she sat down and gathered the scraps of leftover food. She ate the stew with hunger and a sigh, and then she left. She also went to sleep and had to share with Marwan in the same narrow bed. And now we go back in time. With Alam, while she was sleeping, she began to dream about her childhood when she used to play with her parents in the forest and they went to the beach, the place where she fell. Once upon a time, I remembered it, and the next morning I called. I took the boiled eggs and some vegetables and went up to the market to sell them, and at the same time, Anne. She dreamed of her husband, the son, returning from the war. But the dream wasn't as happy as she had imagined. She saw her husband fall to his knees and holding. His brain is screaming from the pain, and he hesitates for her to catch up and help with the nightmares. She is everywhere. It's as if they are messages from the unseen. And suddenly the dream was interrupted when I woke her up from sleep. Anne, she was very happy when she saw that Marin had brought some food with her, but when she came to cut the onion, she found it rotten from the inside, and after it passed, the onion softened in the ground with boredom. She said it didn't matter about the onion anymore. What mattered was that you were with me. She wasn't able to hold on. She herself started crying out of frustration. So Marion asked her to have faith and patience. And after a while, Anna lost her temper because of it. She called out loudly, and saw a fisherman singing while he was focused on his boat, and she got closer to him to discover a surprise she didn't expect. She realized that Yago, the owner of her childhood, and she kept asking herself, I wonder, did he come back because of the war? It ended with a fence and a break. He made her happy and told her the war is over for me. Just me. And when I asked him about her husband, the son, her face was captivating and the break and sadness showed on him. The silence that precedes the news. The beast is always a killer. Then the women ate Yago and asked again about Shams. Yago sat describing to them the ugliness of war, and how death, blood, and torture were all around them. Everywhere. He told them that he was just a hunter, not a soldier. And that killing men won't change anything in the world, and he continued his story, and he told them that one night he decided he and Shams would escape from the camp to return to their homes. But unfortunately, thieves showed up on them. And they killed Shams' man. She was determined to know the details. And how she died in Ag, and he told her, in a harsh tone, that they slaughtered Shams from her neck up to his stomach. Anne completely collapsed, and lost her nerves. In an atmosphere, he gently touched her knee, and tried to console her in her calamity. And after that, Anne went the forest, so she could cry and release her sadness alone, away from people. And there she saw a vision of herself and the children when they were little, as if she was holding the hand of the sun. Again, we notice that the mysterious rider appeared again. And he is riding a horse, and from close by. On that night, Moran was sitting thinking, I wonder what will happen to them after they lose their support. She went out of the house to deal with her sadness alone, and suddenly an accident happened on the shore. It completely changed the course of events. A boat got wrecked on the sand. And a young boy barely crawling out from the midst of the wreckage, seeing the bodies of his friends. They were with him in the boat thrown beside him. And at the time the old man was looking continuously for Naja, Maureen suddenly appeared behind him and instead don't help him. She took out her knife and slaughtered him. She killed him in his place, and then I called Anne to follow him. They take all the money and expensive things that with him. She was terrified and devastated by the sight of the corpses, and she sat praying while Maran kept pretending and saying that the young man drowned like the others. After a while, Maran, the old woman, sold what she had stolen or the loot in the market, and finally the women were able to eat a decent meal that satisfied them. And the next morning, she went back to work. In the garden, she saw the knight approaching her from afar, keeping his eyes fixed on her. She ran quickly inside the house, terrified, and continued watching him from the window with fear, when Maran told me that there was a man outside. Omar responded to her coldly and told her, "You're imagining things, there's no one." And then the sun moved to another scene. Now she is going to the church. He passed by in front. "Oh, Joe, please," but he walked behind her and told her that he wants Yuns. "Yes, on the way." She told him, "It's not right for me to go with a man who's not my husband." In a moment, he reminded her of the bitter truth again and told her, "Your husband is dead now, oh mother." Sometimes the truth. She is so harsh that we refuse to believe her. And after the mass, he came and took her home and tried to chat with more intelligently, but she couldn't stand it. "You see him," and she and Anne entered quickly. She closed the door. Yajo cursed her in his heart as he walked by when it happened. She was cooking Moran. She confessed to her that she had never. She didn't like it, Joha. She told her that he was a small boy whose heart was full of jealousy. And that she remembered the looks of anger that were in his eyes while he walks behind the sun. And she sees that he is a greedy person. Now, Anne tried to defend him. And she said that he was her friend before she got married, but he is gentle. She warned her strongly and told her to stay by her side, so that she would be safe, and if she didn't listen to her, she would be dragged into hell. Yet, we discover that Anna wasn't. She listens to words strongly, and does whatever is on her mind. Whenever she went to the country, oh Joe, he would wait for her on the road and walk with her in. The secret is far from the eyes, in the forest. The knight was still riding around on his horse as if he was looking for something, and one day Anne came back. I got home and was surprised by a surprise I never expected. I saw him on the way and felt I had to watch him. He was eating the last bite of food they had there because he thanks them for their generosity. The priest leaves behind sacred relics and precious items he collected on his journey, and were very amazed by the beauty of these items. The priest tried. She sells them these things. He trained her, She told him we don't have money, and here he trained. She asked the priest a very suspicious question. She asked him if there was anyone who knows. Has he returned from his trip? So he said to her, no, and be careful of what will happen now. The priest, while praying, bent over and slipped behind him, and slaughtered him by the neck, his death in an instant. I was frightened and told him how holy a man is, but flexible. She replied with the utmost might and told her this. One is a con artist and a hypocrite, and she said that they will sell these things so that they can find food to cover them all the time. Winter. The women dragged the body out of the house and threw it away in the river so they could cover up their crime. And then he said, she kept wiping the blood from the floor with all her strength, but it didn't come off, and it continued to leave a trace. And last night, Morn kept spreading nasty rumors about the priest and said that everyone knows that he was into women, but Anna was. She still feels guilty and thinks that they crossed all the boundaries, but Mulan assured her that they did it so they could survive. The next day, she called. She went to the market, and a bloodstain had appeared, so she covered it with fur so that no one would notice. And at that moment, she heard a strange sound and went out to see. Outside, as she was walking in the forest, she found an old man staring at her with strange looks, and before the man could say a word, the mysterious knight appeared and he killed with the sword in the blink of an eye just now. I screamed and ran while terrified, and the knight continued to watch her as she fell and stumbled on the road from too much fear all the time. Joe, she found it. And while she was trying to warn the knight, he said to her that he didn't see anyone and that she is imagining it later. Hey Joe, sit down, calm her, and let her know she came looking for him to protect her, and that made him feel arrogant when she confessed to him that she was afraid to go. Fire, if that devilish knight touched it. In a tone of mocking laughter, he said it, don't believe the stories, Marin. True hell is the battlefield for men. Their blood is boiling over it. And then, Joe, admit it, that he wants her and asked her to meet him at night in the place where they used to play. She is returning home. She said she saw a strange vision. She is flexible and wearing expensive clothes and eating and drinking, as if she were a queen. But suddenly I woke up from sleep and found them in bed, just like every day after I made sure Muriel had slept. I entertained myself and left the house calmly. While walking down the road, I heard a sound. It was easy until I found him. Yago was waiting for her. She said to him that she wasn't supposed to come. But in the end, she weakened and what happened between them happened. And in the morning, Yago asked Anne to come live with him, but she refused because she didn't want to leave. Yago waited alone. He warned her, and Moran said to her, you will take your soul and your life and it will be over for you. The important thing is she returned home and sneaked into bed, but Moran caught her and asked her, where have you been? She got scared, and she said that she went out just to get some air. Then Marin started controlling her with words. He told her, I would die without you, you're the angel of mine. Our Lord sent him to me so that he would take care of me in my son's absence. I promised her that she would take care of her too, in return, and after a few nights, a new tragedy occurred when a traveler was driving his car and stopped when he found that the road was blocked while he was distracted asking her what she wanted. Marwan, he caught him from behind and killed him. She left. To search the man's pockets, he got up and found a horse. A small piece of wood reminded her of the knight she always sees. And at the same time, in the forest, the knight was. He is sharpening his sword while seeing visions of bloody and gruesome battles. Then in the church, Anne kept looking at the woman who had given birth with the baby with her. The baby was making noise. The woman took him outside, so he went after her and gave the baby the horse, the piece of wood he found, and in the afternoon, Ojuja, so that he could see Anne, but Moran went out and stopped him. To his immunity, Joe. He told her clearly, I am coming for Anne, and he tried to enter the house. In the name, if the road had been blocked in front of him. Yajo. A pen for WRNA. He will not deserve a second chance in life, and get married and have children. But Maren responded harshly. She said that these needs bring nothing but pain, and she wants to protect Anne from fate. That's when they try to move, they forcefully enter. Flexible, you threatened him with a knife in his face, Joe. He shouted and said he was waiting for her and walked things in. I found him crying after comforting her and reminding her, by the law of our Lord and his rules, it was said that she was caught between two fires. The fire of her mother-in-law, and the fire of her desire for life, and after a period, she went to the church to complain and vent, and she said, her heart is broken and split in two. She said, she feels that it is unfair for her to be deprived of simple things she desires, and then she returned the house and I made special tea, put something in it. Made Maren sleep very deeply, and started, he is getting himself ready tonight, completely different, unusual. Her hairstyles, and her aunt is prettier, and she went out earlier. Tiago was on the shore, and they sat playing and running after each other like they used to when they were little. And after playing, what happened between them happened again. At home, Maren woke up and found herself alone. In the bed, she went out looking for Anne and heard the sound of a horse is approaching. I hid quickly and took out the knife. The mysterious rider arrived and paused for a moment. When with you is a bag of money with a rose drawing on it, the rider. He touched the door but didn't dare to open it and walked away. Then we decided to follow him secretly. Rad al-Faris fell to his knee at the same time. The moment she saw Kano Yajo with her in a place close by, she was shocked. All the threads began to intertwine at that moment. The knight tried. He walks but falls again while he is less than. Pain. Practice. I took the opportunity and stabbed him from noon. The stab was not enough to kill him. So the Knight of Virtue crawled while he couldn't breathe, until he reached a small water table, flexible. She went to him. She strangled him with all her strength until he died, purely in her hands. And after Moran died, she took the bag of money happily, but suddenly, she heard a terrifying whisper coming from the helmet. She decided, she carries the hoe the next morning and we go back. Because, Joe, then Joe confessed to me, Joe, that she feels guilty, and that she is jealous of the woman who she got pregnant because she also wants a child and a beautiful contract. And a name. That's terrifying greed when they come. He told her that he could give her all of that. She told him, you a greedy man. And what happened between them happened again, and after a few hours, Anne returned home and tried to tell me that Maren would come live with me inside. Maren is in. At first, she ignored it, but when he stood up, she started explaining and saying that Shams is already dead and not coming back. Maren, she grabbed her hand angrily and told her not to utter his name. Never, and she began to curse her and tell her that she would burn in fire like sinners. And that the knights of hell would take her, and she would be happy about it. The threat with religion. It was the strongest destructive weapon. Then she ran away, terrified, and went to Yago's house. At night she dreamed that the knight was in front of her and attacking her in the summer. And it's true. Extremely scared, and then I have to convince Tiago to go with her to the church, and while he was there, he wasn't interested. And he kept coughing from boredom instead of praying. And do you think when Shams hit Yago when they were little, they were playing on the shore? Then Yago rushed her so they could leave. But she wanted to pray a little more for the sun, and relax. Yago, don't get annoyed. And she reminded him that Shams died because the soldiers beat him, so she caught him immediately, and asked him, you were the one last time. I said, he died because of some thieves. Yago tried to escape and said, what matters is that he died, that's all, when he was hunted. You know the truth, Yago. He told her that he loves her since they belittled them and wanted him to forget Shams and his mother. An all-nighter. She got fed up with his excuse, threatened him that she wouldn't talk to him again if he didn't tell the whole truth. And Yago confessed. He said that Shams completely changed in the war, and his greed remained, killing people to steal their money. and he told her that Shams stole the bag of money, the one who had a rose on a corpse, and one night. When the mysterious knight escaped, he appeared to them and Shams attacked him, killed him, and wore his helmet to feel with force, but after seconds, Shams grabbed his head, and he kept screaming from the pain. He tried to take off the helmet, but it never came off his head. Inside, he got scared, left, and ran away. And at that time, Maron was at home discovering the disaster. It turned out that the person under the helmet was her son, Shams. He was wearing the knight's armor, and his tattoo was completely burned. That means that Moran killed her son, whom she had been waiting for. With her hands, she started laughing and crying madly at the same time. And she says, "You came back to me, my love." And in the church, she said to me, "Oh Joe, Maureen, she was right, you're just a jealous kid." And she left him and walked away, and she couldn't stand hearing his voice. And as she was leaving, she saw the priest's corpse on the ground. And when she approached, she found his neck slashed with the knife. And at that moment, she heard a sound and looked up. She found the knight, and the one she trusted. She ran home. I found him free, and the knight went after her looking for her. She tried to run again, but she froze in place. When she heard her name pronounced in the knight's voice, the knight. He is flexible. Start his transfer. Remove the helmet from his head because the pain is killing him. Now I immediately knew that this is Morn and that you try to scare her or break her. Moran was asking for mercy because the pain is horrible. Anne tried to remove the sheath, but it wouldn't come off. And she started to see pictures of Warren while she was burning. Anne grabbed a cross and hit Bear Nazem, Warren with all her strength, until the helmet broke in half and appeared. And what is Morn, all burned, bitter, we sit. She apologizes and asks for forgiveness, and he said he helped her get up and on the ground. The helmet pieces came back together again. And the women, they saw black and dark spirits coming out of the pocket. For all the people who were killed because of her run, they hid inside the house. And now the door was closed. The furniture, why all the shouting and banging on the door? It's over now. She opened and found the helmet on the floor with something shining on it. She picked up the helmet, rubbed her hand over it, and said carefully, "She is cursed," but and said to her, with full confidence, "Don't be afraid, she has no power over me." Morn saw a halo of light around her head. Before her eyes go, she should be completely made up. And in the morning, they came. He was on the shore, and he told her that he wants her, but she responded to him firmly. She told him, "I am not anyone's queen. I am no longer the weak woman who was at the beginning of the story." Yago continued to shout and insult her while she walked away from him. I returned home, and she became everything in everything. She acts like she's handling the colloquial scene, and she's the one in control of everything. And we end the story with a scene. Now, she is in the forest. She opened a box that contained the helmet and lifted it, and she began to hear the whispers coming from it again. As if the story still had more to tell. The rest, I wish for the end of the film and we meet in a new summary. And thank you for watching.